Good afternoon, Everton. Finally winning their first game of the season. Basil and I are actually in the same location, which is a first. There's Basil over there. So we're going to have to mute while we're giving this reaction. As you can see, I can't wipe the smile off my face. It's a very unusual situation at halftime. It wasn't looking like this, but Everton have finally claimed their first victory. And well, I'm Stevie, your host. Basil, my brother, and we are going to be taking you through the victory lap, as it feels like we've just literally won the FA Cup or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to bear with us a little bit with the sound while we're just adjusting to this, because there's like a 2-second delay. I can hear it twice. But yeah, I mean, it's just relief more than anything from my perspective. I mean, obviously happy, but when were we going to win that first game? Finally, to get that off our backs. Picked up the point last week and now got the 3 points. We can start moving forward and building from this.
Thanks, Day. Obviously, there's so much to go through, but Dwight McNeil with a brace. Once again, Everton's star amongst what was kind of a mixed performance. Let's just pick up on McNeil's goals. Absolutely stunning. Do you want to just take me through why Everton managed to finally do it today, and maybe it haven't been so great on other days? What was kind of the overarching reason why we've won today?
Yeah, I mean, just before you start, thank you so much to Amanda for that donation. That's great. What was the difference today? I think the difference was like the second half was like a contrast from the first half. I think whatever Dyche said at halftime, well, I can guess he said something along the lines of be more aggressive, be clinical with your chances. You should be pressing higher up as a team, winning the ball, and not letting Palace just play out and play their counter-attacks and feed the ball down the line and get crosses. You have to do better at stopping them. And Everton did everything to that effect in the second half. They nullified the Palace intensity and effect to a lot less, and they managed to create chances of their own. Yes, they didn't create an awful lot of Everton in that second half, but they did what they needed to do, which was get into that lead and find a way to finish a game, which is something they've struggled to do for weeks.
Yeah, it's a good summary. Good summary. I think Everton, obviously, at 2-1 up, you just kind of look at the clock and think it's just got to be the same old, because we've seen it so many times where we've taken the lead. What do you feel about the game management towards the end? What did Dyche do differently? Because I think at halftime, I think it was almost odds on that he was going to be the talk of the next manager to get the sack. What tactics did Dyche do today that were different to the games? How did Everton manage to see out the game this time?
Ryan's saying the mic's not working. Yeah, it's not Ryan. Good spot. Is that better? What did Everton do differently to see out the game? Well, Everton, yeah, I mean, they got into the lead. They didn't have a 2-goal lead. I mean, a 2-goal lead is always a little bit of a strange one, isn't it? Because the team gets 1 goal back. They know they have to push for a goal. They get it back. They have the confidence. They have the momentum, and they're against you. When you're a 1-goal up, you know you just have to fight for your life to keep that goal. But what Everton did was instead of like a game against Bournemouth, they made substitutions. I mean, he had options on the bench, the likes of Irabugam, Garner, and Garner. And he brought 2 of them on, and I think that obviously was very helpful towards the end in that midfield. And I think generally throughout the game, Doucouré and Mangala, it wasn't a perfect sort of setup in that midfield, but I think he did the right thing to just kind of shore it up a little bit.
Yeah, you said that it was a very different way that Everton kind of saw out the game, but we were looking at each other with a lot of nervous tension, thinking that this is going to be the same old. And of course, we've been through this so many times. And unless you've been away for a number of weeks, Everton obviously claiming the first win, but 5 games where we've had our chances in pretty much all of them, and we've thrown away points. So Everton finally winning, and I think they're up to 15th actually in the table. which is not something that I was expecting to say today. But it's a big win, and how much of this can be a changing factor? I think we might be crossing over to Goodison soon to get Ryan's reaction from Goodison finally with a win. I'm sure he's delighted to come on. It's been very, very hard for us to comment on Everton's play, performance, Dyche, the whole caboodle, really. It's, win, lose or draw, we come on. We had, I think, a record number of watches when we lost. If Ryan is here, you can let me know. But really, hi, Jazz. Hi, Gary. Everyone hi, Kevin, all our regulars coming back. It's great to see you, not just celebrating, but celebrating with us. And we appreciate having you here, and make sure that you tell everyone you know about Follow Everton. We've spread the word a little bit today because we were watching the game with an Arsenal fan downstairs, but he was also taking an eye off our game to look at what Leicester were doing. Apparently they weren't that great. They were pinned back. So there's obviously going to be sides that are just as bad, if not as bad as Everton have been this season. But how much of this now we'll see if Ryan's here. Ryan, we cross over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me clearly, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, what's your reaction like after the whistle? What was it like coming out of Goodison?
Celebratory. There was definitely a bit of a buzz around the result. It was a very nervous sort of closing stages. I thought the substitutions were a bit too late for my liking. We let Palace get a bit of control in there, but we got the job done. It wasn't pretty, and we come away a little bit more satisfied that we've got 3 points on the board.
Was there anything today that stood out as far as being a different setup or change to the previous games?
Well, he went bold with the system. He went with the front four that impressed against Leicester and kept Decore in there, who didn't really put an awful lot long against Leicester, but it was quite evident fairly quickly that Everton were outnumbered in that midfield. What Palace were doing was tucking in their wide players into outnumber us, and because Everton played a 4-2-3-1, Everton's two were often facing four and struggled to get out to them to press. Lindstrom really struggled on that right-hand side, as did several other players in that first half to cope with that sort of formation from Palace. I wouldn't say there was anything we did differently that secured the win. I think it was a scruffy result, a very poor first half performance where we tactically weren't there. He went with the one change. I think he could have quite easily made more than one change. And Dwight McNeil in that position there in that 10, where he can use his left foot, almost Sigurdsson-esque with the goal. And then I think it's just a case of a little bit better game management, but still really Palace could see that Everton were on the ropes, kept targeting the back post every time. Mikalenko often losing that header at the back post. And I think we needed a little bit of luck because we weren't convincing. And I can't say there's anything that we did differently. I think we just had a couple of moments of quality there. And didn't let Palace actually, to be fair, had a lot of chances. But you could say Jared Branthwaite definitely made a difference in there. Settled everyone down slightly, certainly in that second half.
Yeah. He's gone. Is he there? What's he saying?
Sorry.
Ryan, are you still with us?
I am still with you, but for briefly because I'm going to work.
How was the atmosphere in the ground today? Because it's sensed from watching on the computer that the first half grumblings, the sort of usual little a bit of negativity and boos at halftime. How come that was there? And did that change second half with the intensity and the pressing? Because it seemed to.
Yeah, they were angry. The first half performance was just really poor, as I specified why. Tactically, it was the 4v2 versus from Palace.
We seem to have lost Ryan. He's obviously in the car. So thanks, Ryan, for joining us. Celebrate.
I pressed the button accidentally while I was holding the phone. It was the 4v2 versus Palace, which was very unsettling. And then what's happened is at half-time, fans were so frustrated with the fact that Everton was stood off Palace and couldn't get near them that there was a few boos. But it was a tactical thing. You couldn't really say it was anything other than the way Everton was set up. At half-time, we went out and it was like he'd read the riot act and said, go and get at Palace. You're showing them too much respect. Be more aggressive. get your foot in. We were pacifist in the first half, as we were in a lot of games this season. And we turned it around with that little bit of extra intensity and aggression. But it wasn't a good performance, and we still let Palace in through that back door. Very concerning. I mean, that first goal, so annoying. I mean, how are you conceding another goal like that? It's just embarrassing.
I think that's a nice segue. We're going to have a look at some screenshots, and I think, thank you, Rai. Enjoy the win. I think we're going to have a look at some particular screens that we've got where we've got some stills from the match, and well, I might need a minute or so to bring those up. But basically, Ryan's alluded to that aggression that Everton came out with. David, you picked up on that as well, second half. But first half, you have to say that Palace were quite threatening, and they're maybe a better side than we're giving them credit for. And perhaps the league position says that as well.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised when I heard the stat that they hadn't won a game this season based on that first half performance. But they do look a threat, and any side with Eze on the counter attack is going to be threatening. It's very hard to get the ball off him, and he dribbles through in that central area, gets it off, and they've got pacey players. It's hard to stop them. But I think the important thing at half time as well, he put Jack Harrison on, so he made a proactive substitution. Harrison's someone who will chase every ball and instigate press. So I think that was part of the game plan. It's not just telling them to be more aggressive, to get in their faces, to get closer to the Palace players, but also making that change as a signal to the team to actually do that.
Yes, that's right. And I think that Harrison obviously gave Everton a bit more width on the right-hand side. Let's have a think about the first half in a bit more depth. And you were disappointed by the Palace goal. It was yet again another problem from a set piece, wasn't it? Inability to defend as well as just general poor play.
Yeah, it's the usual goal this season that we've seen from scrambled set piece or a cross in the box. It's it doesn't seem to have reduced. I mean, Jared Branthwaite came back in. You're hoping we wouldn't concede these sorts of goals, but it's not just one player when it comes to these sorts of moves. It's a whole team, as a collective, and it's a struggle. But Dyche alluded to his press conference about how these moments are so difficult to read and to prevent, but there must be something they need to look at with this. The only thing I can say in a positive sense is at least we're not conceding from open play that many goals, and they're more these sorts of scrappy set piece moments, which hopefully we can cut out. This was a poor one. He lost the ball at the back post. Palace targeted the back post from their crosses from corners all day, and they won a lot of those first headers. There was almost identical one to this goal they nearly got as well. It's a cross to the back post. He wins the header, and then just a second runner gets the beating of his man, gets away, and just taps it in.
Certainly at the former clubs, Dyche has been one of those managers that has really been astute when it comes to defending set pieces. But yet again, Everton getting caught out with that looped ball to the back post and a header. Really, and I think we went down quite early, and I said to you, maybe it's a good thing that we're not necessarily in the league because the way with things. I mean, obviously it's not a good thing, but you could definitely score too early in a game, and the fact that we'd gone down meant that Everton couldn't really sit back and kind of wait for things to happen, and they needed to take things into their own hands. And we did have a chance not so long after with Tarkowski. He had basically it was a free kick, it was a back post header. We haven't got a screenshot from that, but that was a good chance for Everton. I don't know if you can remember the chance, but should we have done better? I think that there weren't that many.
It was a real struggle to make chances in that first half, and I don't know what you put that down to. Obviously, second half a bit more aggressive, winning the ball higher up, and that's where the goal came from, the first goal. But in the first half, they just didn't really get the chat. They didn't get the ball into Palace's third quick enough and control enough to actually get balls and touches in the opposition box. They very often was too slow, and they just couldn't get near. Palace have got a good defense, and they got Mark Gay. He's excellent at the back there. He's like a rock. Calvert-Lewin couldn't really get the beating of him for much of that game. He struggled to really get that ball down especially in the first half. So I think that was problematic in terms of Everton's creating chances. They did have that one, as you say, I think it was from the corner where Tarkowski won the header, and I think it flicked off the Palace defender actually, but it was a good chance, but it was a very fastly fizzed in ball, so it's not like an easy chance. But for him, it was a shame that he didn't bury that one and just keep us in the game. I mean, it was a fairly even game in that first half, just a bit frustrating for Everton fans.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I had a bit of false optimism that I thought we were going to get back in the game in the first half, but you have to say Palace with their front players, and they played a good game considering they're coming away from home. Yes, we've been fairly soft pickings for a lot of the season. Anyway, 10 minutes later, there was a ball in from McNeil. I think it was another really quality piece of play from McNeil, and Calvert-Lewin could have tapped that in. I mean, it was one of those most inviting balls that you could ever imagine.
Yeah, you do wonder, don't you, as a centre forward like Calvert-Lewin, Premier League, has been playing for years now, and he gets close to it, but he doesn't put it in. And he's thinking, how are you not scoring that? You come on, Premier League striker, big club, you've got to be burying that. That's why Everton aren't clinical generally in games, and that's going to cost us a lot of points if we can't create chances. But it's an excellent ball across the face, 6-yard box from McNeil, and he just got to get that connection, get it in. Any connection in forward, it goes in.
Yeah, I think that would have been a great way to get back into the game and give Calvert-Lewin the confidence he needs, because I think they did handle him quite well, and I think that it was one of his least effective games from that sense of view. I mean, obviously, once Harrison came on, there was a bit more space for him, but he really struggled to get into the game. Calvert-Lewin, things weren't really sticking to him, but Everton were fluent. But it was actually another Palace chance that caught my eye. It was a back post header. I don't know whether you remember it, but Ndiaye basically turned the ball around, and we could have easily gone 2-0 at the break.
If it's the one that was very similar to the opening goal, then I think I know which one you mean.
Yeah, back post header, a bit of a scramble. I mean, obviously it's a while ago now, but there was a goal line scramble as well. The one that looped back, it sort of comes off Pickford, and then Ashley Young clears it. That was the craziest sequence. It was just a minute later, and that. I think that I don't know who it was, but it was shooting towards the top corner. It was definitely curling in. But then it took a deflection, a header, and goal line scramble. And can you remember much about that incident? Again, it was a bit dangerous.
Yeah, I can remember that shot from, I think it was Eze, which was curling in the left foot. And it was heading in, but I think it was a good header. He got a good head on that ball, and then Pickford managed to get it. It was a bit of a scramble. The ball could have easily spun back from that momentum and landed in the net. That's what I was fearing at the time, but Pickford managed to keep hold of it. It just underlines how many chances Palace, when you think about it, had in that first half, and really they could have been an extra goal up. But I think it was a generally fair, even first half. Everton didn't really create much. Palace could have been further ahead, and they had a bit more control of the game than us.
Yeah, and you might find this amusing, Everton fans watching. Obviously, thanks for joining us. If you have, maybe you've just got back or you're watching in the car, we'll make sure you keep an eye on the road. But obviously, it's great to have you celebrating Everton's first win of the season, 2-1, home to Crystal Palace, up to 15th. We're absolutely made up. We just got to half time in our analysis, and it was really a case of same old. We've gone in 1-0. We haven't quite found the breakthrough, and certainly in terms of possession and chances in the final third, it just wasn't there from Everton. And if anyone looked like they were going to score again, it was the visitors. But I went out for a walk and I came back, and you're not going to believe it, but I missed the goal. It was an absolute I have seen it back now. It was an absolute whirly peach of a goal. And I mean, we haven't got obviously all the technology in the world that you want to have to describe it. But do you want to just talk me through the goal?
Yeah, what you're seeing here is the ball, I think, as McNeil's hitting it. The goal really comes from a pressing move where Palace made a mistake. They didn't make a lot of mistakes around the back line in that first half, but early in the second half, Everton's pressing in. Palace, they play a poor pass in the midfield. It gets picked up by an Everton player and fed to McNeil. And all that.
Was it Decore that played the ball in?
I can't remember. It was either, I think, Decore or Mangala. One of them picked that ball up recycled that ball and got that into McNeil. And I was just thinking that's perfect, ideal spot for McNeil to have a shot. He's got space. The defender's backed off, left foot, right hand side. It's almost like an ideal left-footed free kick. And moment it left his boot, I knew it was in. It was just an excellent strike, and we saw him do almost identical strike when he played for Burnley at Goodison, and Burnley I think beat us 2-1, but he basically scored the same goal. So we know he can do that, and that's why McNeil is playing in that role in that midfield now, because he not just because Ndiaye is probably is just because Ndiaye's obviously suited to that left-hand role, but the strengths it brings for McNeil in terms of opening up from different sides and being able to be close to the goal to hit strikes. He is our best shooter and finisher, I think, of the side. So it makes sense that he's in and around those spaces.
Yeah, I think maybe if you're looking at this through the Palace eyes, this guy is just nowhere near McNeil. And I would just be looking at this thinking, if that was us, I'd be like, why is he so far away from probably Everton's best shooter, at least from outside the box? But I mean, it was just a relief to get back in the game. And then not so long after, it happened again. McNeil this time, different goal, but
Have you got the other shot of the? Have you got the other shot of the first goal? Because it shows you the angle. That's the ball going in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's celebrating.
This one?
No, is there not one from behind? Yeah, that kind of shows the ball about to hit the net. But you can see the Palace defenders is just a little bit misshapen. They get caught out a bit. It's because they give the ball away. They're not quite in the setup. I think they'll be disappointed with that goal. Don't take the Palace defenders, they'll just see that as a moment they gave the ball away and then it was a really good strike. I don't think you can read too much more into it like that.
Yeah, I just wonder how much of this was Everton finally hitting the breakthrough today. And actually, we've not been as bad as the results tell. And I was trying to explain that to the Arsenal fan, Luke, that was with us. We've been incredibly unfortunate at times, as well as just losing our heads. And today, Palace not winning a game this season, come to Goodison. They've made mistakes for all the good play, and they would probably pick up and look back and go, we shouldn't have allowed him space and we shouldn't have allowed that and this and that to happen. But it did happen. Whereas previous games, it just hasn't happened for Everton. And for one reason or another, some of which we can't explain, just not an awful lot different here from other performances we've seen. And I think that there's definitely a glimmer of hope that we can build from this. I mean, how much do you think this could be a turning point for the Blues season?
I mean, let's not get carried away with this performance, but Everton, they found a way to win today. It wasn't necessarily their best performance of the season. They had a good second half, that's for sure, but they didn't create that much in the second half, apart from a couple of goals. They had a few moments on the counter-attack which could have gone their way with better bits of quality. But this was a Palace side with a really good, solid general team. And it's hard to kind of run away with a game against them. It just got to find a way to to win the game. As for a turning point, Branthwaite's back, and I think that was always going to be a moment of, well, we were all praying a few weeks ago that once he comes back, that would be the moment and the turning point for Everton's results. And you've seen already put that partnership back in, and we've got 3 points. So you can't argue with that. And I think if we can keep him fit and keep that centre-back pairing, I can see us picking up a lot more points going forward, just generally. The midfield, I don't know what the best two in that midfield is. I think that's an area we're going to have to look at. But I think at the moment he won't want to change the side that's won the game. So I think we'll stick with around this side for the next week or two, the next couple of games, and see if we make tweaks from there. But we've got players coming back now. The squad's looking a bit more healthy.
100%. And our next game at home to Newcastle at 5:30 kickoff, and it's next Saturday, which I think is the 5th. It's going to be a hard one. But going back to this game, Everton once again low on the possession, although we did have just about 40%, which I think is an acceptable amount of possession. And previous games we've had a lot less than that. Shots faced. I picked this one up, Baz, because I think that Everton once again having a lot of shots against us. Yes, we only let one in, but why do you think we've ended up facing so many shots at Goodison once again at home?
It'd be interesting to see the stats broken half time, first half, second half. I don't know how much of that was in the first half, but Everton obviously sort of struggled to stop Palace from getting through towards the goal in that first half. So they did get shots off, and I think second half they were 2-1 up in about 10 minutes. So I think they had basically Palace had 30 minutes to try and get back in the game, and were going for it a bit more. So they were going to get more shots as well. So I think both of those things contributed to that. You're right to highlight it though. It's not great. 5 shots on target, 1 goal, 2 shots on target, 2 goals. I mean, that's what Everton have really failed to do this season, is to convert shots clinically. And you can see from that stat, we converted our 2 shots. We only had those 2 shots on target. We've won the game. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's a good summary. I think the next screenshot shows both lineups, and obviously Everton making the change with Branthwaite coming into the side. Is there anyone else that you would like to kind of say played particularly well, or didn't have such a great game? And what do you think Branthwaite, in terms of his come back to the side, how do you think he influenced Everton's defensive structure?
I think it just instills an element of confidence generally amongst the team. He's obviously really quick, and he's tall and strong, and he's got a good left foot. He's calm, and he reads things really well. I think he just any sort of ball down the line, he's a big striker. He'll hold them up. You're not going to get past, or he'll chase it out. He'll make sure it just goes out for a goal kick. He deals with situations in a composed way, and nothing gets unnecessarily messed around and given away. Just in terms of the rest of the team, I thought obviously McNeil will get probably the man of the match for this, because his 2 goals. We haven't really touched on that second goal. He's excellent shot and his great finish. So he's got to get some plaudits for that. Mangala was good in that midfield, I thought, but I think Doucouré let him down in that first half. It's it's not really his position, that deep line midfielder role. Who else? Yeah, I mean, I think they were the standout 3 to me. Harrison worked hard when he came on, definitely made an improvement. Calvert-Lewin struggled.
Yeah, I agreed with that summary. And yeah, McNeil did get man of the match. In fact, BBC haven't had him at 9.06, which I think is the highest score I've actually seen in a long time, and Calvert-Lewin 6. But yeah, it's good to know that Branthwaite's back, because I think that I was trying to get my head around why we hadn't really done that well this season, and obviously it's hard to rationalize it because you're so emotionally engrossed in it all, and you dread the next game almost because you think, oh God, could we lose again? And of course we could, especially at half time. But I think that we've had a lot of defensive players play together that haven't really played a lot of games together, and we've been chopping and changing our fullbacks, and there's been injuries, and yes, there's injuries for every side, but that hasn't gone well. And I think we're starting to see what I think now is most likely going to be close to a settled back players. I mean, there's debate as to whether Patterson would come in for Ashley Young. Would he come in for you, Day, next game if he was fit, Patterson?
Our weakness is definitely the fullback areas and what they offer from fullback, attacking and arguably defensively as well, particularly from Young. I don't see Patterson coming in for at least a couple of weeks. He's been already told that he's had this program that he's been out for so long, and Dyche will not play anyone until they're absolutely fit. To be honest, I was surprised Branthwaite came in. I thought it would be another week for him as well. So I don't think he's as keen on Patterson though as like Branthwaite. So I think he won't rush him back in. It would be good to see him get in though, but he won't revolutionise the side. I don't think he's not Branthwaite level. So he's not going to change the fullback areas considerably, but it's definitely going to be an improvement. What was your other question about consistency?
Consistency. Well, I just want, if you have Patterson or Coleman, do they come in for Young?
I mean, Young and Coleman is like, take your pick. I probably would play Coleman personally, but I wouldn't rely on him. Yeah, I want to see passes. I think that's where the weakness lies in the team, unfortunately, and it's a really crucial area in just generally. It's a really crucial area because the fullbacks contribute defense and attack, and if you haven't got that, your tactics just get flawed in so many different ways. What Everton have done though since last season, and you can look at the results and everything. It hasn't been great, but they've got that same back line almost as last season. That they didn't concede that many goals. They need to find a way to get them back to that same way. But the midfield, we lost Onana, but we've got a couple of players in there who can fill that role. Maybe not to the same extent, but can fill it to a good level. And then the attack looks better. It just looks more incisive. It looks more inventive. I think Undai is a big part of that, but I think Lundstrom can offer stuff. I think there's more depth in those options. So I think I wouldn't, be too upset moving forward as an Everton fan at the moment. I do feel like we can match at least the levels from last season, and I think we'll be okay. It's just getting through that, getting this consistency.
You've answered many of the questions that I was about to ask. So that's great. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on Lindstrom and Dye. Obviously, they're offering a different threat to Onana, who just didn't really settle at Everton. Let's face it, we didn't get the best out of him. The result today means Everton are. I find this incredible that we lost 4 in a row, drawn 3 of those games we were in front, and then we've won a game on my 15th. But that's because it's early doors in the season. And a win is a win, but it's massive because the sides below us and around us and slightly above us are not winning. And so we've got a picture here, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you, how many of these sides are Everton going to be fighting against? Which ones do you think are going to be the ones that we're going to be there or thereabouts? Or do you think, are you going to be more optimistic and expect us to escape this picture?
Well, I haven't seen as much of the matches as probably some people have. It's not been inspiring when Everton have been playing poor or getting bad results to go and watch all the other games. I have seen obviously Leicester and Southampton play against us, and I know they're 2 sides that are lacking definitely compared to other sides. So I could imagine them staying down this end of the table. I can't see Palace being down there consistently. I think they've got enough to start getting some result. I'm really surprised they haven't got some results really. So yeah, I think it's not going to be easy. We've already played some of these sides. We played Leicester, we didn't win. We played Bournemouth, we didn't win. And when you think about that, you've got to play all the top sides. Everton are not going to pick up loads of points, but I think they can pick up enough to keep away from this group.
Yeah, I agree. It's very hard to pick out exactly who's going to be down there, but I think it's safe to say that we're not going to be making giant strides away from this half. Certainly, in my opinion. I mean, look how many losses there are in this half. It's still early. And you could freeze frame it and look 2 points above, and you've got Man U. But we shouldn't get too carried away. But we should also celebrate this because it's a massive weight off our shoulders. It's like I watch a lot of snooker. It's like getting your first frame in a snooker match. It's taking your first wicket in cricket, winning your first game in tennis. Whatever analogy you want to do, this is a massive thing for Everton to get their first win and to do it in front of our fans at Goodison. Hopefully gives us the confidence to move forward, because I felt like there was a confidence issue, and whether you say it or not, it's creeping in. Away from the field, there are lots of things happening which may or may be great for the club and might take a while to settle and tie up any off the field takeover stuff. It could also be distracting, but I'm not going to pull up the Daesh the Man screen this time. Oh no, you know what? I'll pull it up. I think I've done it nearly every other game. Has somebody taken it away? I think someone might have taken it away. Is Daesh the Man? So that's what I want to know. I want to know, Everton have recorded a win here. I'll start with you, Baz. Is Daesh the man for you?
I think irrespective of the whether he is or he isn't, he is not going to be sacked right now, because Everton, yeah, they're not in the relegation. They've got their first win. The trajectory of the form is better. Obviously, yeah, if you just take those last 3 games and hopefully add to those with another 2 games, I think hopefully we'll see the form start to neutralize off a little bit. But Everton waiting for these new owners to come in. They could be in by sort of Christmas time. I don't think they'll want to make any changes before they get in, and I think then they'll decide whether they want to get rid of him. I'd imagine they might. So I'd imagine that the new owners will want a different manager. So I think there's a question to be asked about changing the manager now, and then likely having to change the manager in January or probably in the summer if that was the case. But I think that's a lot of changes, and I think at the moment it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we were throwing names around at halftime like David Moyes and Southgate and whoever else. And I think that Everton just need to give themselves a bit of a chance to have some continuity. I mean, Daesh has brought in a few players. He's slowly moving the squad towards a squad that has got his own stamp of identity on. And I think that if we just tighten up the set pieces, it looks like we've not got the scoring issues that we've maybe had in the past. I think there are more players within the side that are able to find the back of the net. I think Everton have been guilty of being almost predictable in their play, and the changes with, you know, the likes of Onana out and DA in, and we don't know where Tim is, but there are a few peripheral players that can come into the side, and I think we need to exercise an element of patience. It's going to be a tough season. We know that for sure. But we'll be with you every minute watching and reacting and previewing the match here on Follow Everton. Before we wrap up, obviously we've got the Newcastle game and we'll be previewing that on Thursday, I believe. It's not going to be the easiest game, Baz. I think we've got Newcastle, who through Gordon's goal, they equalised against Man City today. Do you have any quick thoughts on Everton's chances of getting something from next week? And would you take a draw at this point right now?
Yeah, I probably would take a draw. I mean, something like a 1-1 draw would be probably something that you could see, and I might get slated in comments for that. But I think Newcastle are a decent outfit. But there's no reason we can't really win that game. I mean, we beat them 3-0 last season at Goodison. And I think what's the key to that, which I'm sure you'll probably discuss in a preview, is about Everton's intensity and aggression in that game. And at the 5:30 kickoff, it should be sort of starting to go dark and, well, not at 5:30, but you do know what I mean. It's going to be a slightly different atmosphere and tempo to a 3 o'clock Saturday fixture. So we've got to use that aggression. I think Everton can pick up some good points. And yeah, as Mr. Blue Sky says, Everton do have a good record against Newcastle. There's the whole sort of fake rivalry, and there's the Anthony Gordon thing. So I think the fans will be up for it. So, and Pickford, obviously. So there's always a bit of feistiness with that game. But it's not going to be easy with Gordon and Isak and the pace they have in that side running against our back line. That is not going to be easy. So, yeah, we're going to have to think about that. And I don't expect us to be able to just like shut them out.
No, not at all. I think we'll both be there at the game, so you won't see us on the preview immediately, at least. And it'll be confirmed who's going to be doing the post-match. But we will be reacting, of course, to this. And thank you, everyone who's commented. There's been so many, as usual. We just don't have that much time to get through everything because, like you, we also want to go and celebrate with our friends and family. And I think, David, we'll be maybe celebrating this one together. A much needed, vital, superb goals from McNeil. An incredible situation to go into a 6th match of the season without the win. And this finally means that Everton have something to think about into the moving forward into the next part of this half of the season. And I think Newcastle's not going to be the easiest fixture, but why not go for the win? Why not go for the jugular and see if we can do what we did against Villa and gave them a really good game, despite being a quality outfit? Well, I think that's all we've got time for, but certainly there's still more reaction to come from Follow Everton, and we may well end up doing more reaction this evening or tomorrow on player ratings and things like that. So keep an eye on the streams. Otherwise, we'll see you for the preview Thursday. And of course, after our next home game. So it's from me, from Baz, up the Toffees.